So I got an email the other day, and it was from Valve. Well, I'm usually pretty excited about emails from Valve, so I opened it up, and it said, confirm your mailing address, which means that very soon, not as soon as I'd like, but very soon, my Steam controller will be here, and I'm really, really excited about that, and I'm going to put that on the wish list this week. I know it's already on the wish list, and I know that I already bought it, but I just want to reiterate how excited I am to have a controller input that completely emulates mouse and keyboard. Now, I'm sure that there are some people out there who are saying, listen here, pal, there's nothing that can emulate mouse and keyboard. And you're probably right. But if this can get good enough, or if this can get close enough that I can play, we'll say 90% of my games using the Steam controller, then I will be very, very happy. I ordered this Steam Link, which was, it came in a combo, and I think you got a deal for doing the combo. I ordered it when it first came out. I don't remember how long ago that was. But I ordered the Steam Link, which came with a controller, and then I ordered a second controller, so my son and I could both play games, like two-player games, on the Steam Link on the TV. And it said that it should ship by October 16th. Now, I'm sure it won't be the awesome 2-day Amazon shipping that I'm used to by having Amazon Prime, but I'm still pretty excited about it, and I can't wait for this controller to get here. Now, if you are unfamiliar with the Steam controller, let me go over the basics of it. Well, first off, check out the link in the show notes. They're going to show you a quick video from Valve that explains exactly what the Steam controller does. So how is it different than another controller? Currently, my current controller is the Xbox 360 controller. It's corded, which I hate, and it's I got to plug it in and unplug it in order to put it away so my cats don't chew on the wires and stuff, because cats are jerks. They're awesome, fluffy jerks, but they're still jerks. Now, my Xbox 360 controller, 2 sticks, 4 face buttons, 2 shoulder buttons, 2 shoulder triggers. Awesome. And a D-pad. The Steam controller does not look like that. It has 1 stick. And then the right stick is replaced by a circular thumb pad. Now, the circular thumb pad, I guess it's supposed to have some kind of haptics so you can feel what's under your thumb. Apparently, and I actually didn't even know this when I ordered it, you can have it set up so that the haptics try to trick your brain into thinking that you have different things under your thumbs. So, for instance, you can say, well, I want this to feel like it's a trackball. So imagine you've got like a big honking trackball. And I actually used to use a trackball on my computer. I switched to mouse. I always switched back and forth for a really long time. I used a trackball, though, and especially when I was doing first-person shooters. The reason I would use a trackball for first-person shooters is because I didn't have to move my arms around, and if you got a good gaming trackball, it worked really well. You could flick the ball, and that ball would keep spinning, and that would allow you to turn around really, really fast, and then put your hand down on the ball. It would stop spinning, and then you could shoot. So I'm really interested in how the trackball works, because I could always turn around on a dime using a trackball, and it was always a little less quick on the mouse. Now, the mouse, I was always a little bit more precise, but there's advantages and disadvantages for precision versus speed. So apparently, if you have this emulating a trackball, when you swiped to the left, it's not like it's going to feel on your thumb pad like that, like a trackball, not thumb pad, but on the pad of your actual thumb, the flat part of your thumb, because I think you really more control the controller with the tips of your thumbs because of its shape. It's also a weird shape. I'll get back to the shape in a second, but basically I flick to the left or to the right, and the haptic the haptics in the controller make the controller feel like there's a trackball rolling inside the controller. Again, I haven't tried this. I don't know if it's true. It's just something that I have read that, like, I think I saw it on NeoGAF. Somebody was talking about the way that it works. If that's true, that's awesome. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Now, that's the right stick has been replaced by a trackpad. The D-pad has also been replaced by a trackpad, like a circular trackpad that goes on the right or the left-hand side. And in order to differentiate, they have put like these two grooves, a vertical groove and a horizontal groove, so that you can really get a look, or not a look, but so you can feel where your thumb is supposed to be hitting without having to look down. This is a problem with anything where you have got touch inputs, like on a phone or something like that. You don't want to have to look at your hands in order to do something in a game, especially if the screen is not built into the system. Now, I am 100% against touch screen games that have virtual sticks on them or anything like that. So that's not something that I'm interested in. Hopefully, Valve's haptic engine or whatever it is that they've got going on over there can trick my brain into thinking that I'm using a real D-pad. My one worry about the D-pad is old school games. Like, without a doubt, I still plug in a Super Nintendo controller. I have a USB Super Nintendo controller, and if I'm playing an old game, that's the controller that I plug in so that I've got a good D-pad, because the D-pad on the Super Nintendo controller was really comfortable for me. I'm not sure if it was terribly well received or if I'm the only one who likes it. I can't be the only one who likes it. But I definitely think, as far as a very simple design, the Super Nintendo controller D-pad was really great, and I felt like I could really control things very well. But that might also be because I had a Super Nintendo and I spent hours and hours and hours playing very precise input games like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter on that system. I'm not sure. So that's the D-pad. Now, it also has 4 face buttons, so that's great. It also has like the start and select buttons and a home button, all the things that you would expect on any controller. It also has 2 shoulder buttons, which you can hit with like your index fingers. There's nothing really fancy about those. And then it has dual stage analog triggers underneath. This really doesn't seem terribly different from, like, they talk about this like it's a big deal, but I think that isn't that what the Xbox 360 has? Like, I can pull it in, they're analog triggers. It almost feels like the differentiating factor here for the Steam controller versus the Xbox controller, as far as those shoulder buttons go, is that you can click them in once, so you can feel the click, and then if you want, you can click them in more. So it feels, I guess what I'm saying is, the way they describe it, it seems like they're saying there's 2 clicks to it instead of just 1, which would be kind of interesting. I'm a little concerned about what that means for, like, shooting from the hip. Let's say that I've got one, maybe I've got the game, or well, I cannot talk. Let me try that again. Maybe I have the iron sights of a game bound to that left trigger or something, and then when I pull it further, it shoots. So I pull it a little bit, it brings up the iron sights, and then I shoot. Is that going to slow me down if I want to shoot from the hip? That's a thing that I'm curious about. Now, I don't play a lot of shooters, so that might not be a big issue for me. But every once in a while, a good shooter comes out, and I don't want to have to go back to my mouse and keyboard unless I want to. I want to try and really make myself use the controller all the time, and I'll definitely be reporting back on how I think it works. Now, as far as other buttons, it has those 2 fingers. It has those 2 triggers for your, I guess you would say, for your middle fingers. And then down on the bottom, and this is different from any other controller on the market today, we've got like this paddle, this back and forth paddle that whatever side you pull on, basically like your ring finger and your pinky finger can grab this paddle and kind of push it in. So we've got extra buttons that weren't there before. And I've heard rumors that Xbox and PS4 are actually going to be releasing controllers that have these particular buttons built in. Now, I don't know if that's true, and I highly doubt that rumor, but it does. If that were true, and if they do, that definitely signals to everyone that Valve is doing something right by adding these extra buttons in here. Hey, everybody, look, we found a place to put more buttons. It's almost like when, what was it? Pizza Hut. When Pizza Hut found another place to put cheese. We're like, well, hold on a sec. We could put the cheese in the crust. This is the same thing. Valve has found a way to put more buttons on the controller. We didn't think that was possible, and now we've got more buttons. That's awesome. So all those buttons, it seems incredibly complicated, but I think it's going to be really cool, and that's why I ordered 2 of them. My only issue from here on out is does it work? And I can't wait to find out. Now, speaking of controllers, Nintendo did, well, I don't know if Nintendo did, but they filed a patent. Now, companies, especially tech companies, file patents all the time. Basically, you talk to somebody who works at Apple, and basically a lawyer comes by their R&D department once a week and says, hey, what'd you think of this week? Great, I'm going to go patent it just in case. So just because Nintendo patents something does not mean that it's going to be made into something. But they had this really, really cool idea, and I'm excited to see it. And I'm a little disappointed that this news came out before Valve finished, or after Valve had finished their design, because they could have implemented this very easily, I think. And that is those 2 top shoulder buttons that are on just about every controller out there now. Nintendo has released a patent that replaces those with a clickable scroll wheel. So think about, you've got the scroll wheel on your mouse, and most scroll wheels today, you can click them in, okay? Imagine that you have shoulder buttons that are also scroll wheels on your controller. There's a lot of really cool things that you could do having scroll wheels up there. And it's too bad that Valve didn't think of it first to integrate into the Steam controller, because this sounds really cool. And it's got me excited for the NX, because first off, the picture, while obviously not a real picture of what the thing's going to look like, it's not even a real drawing of what the thing's going to look like. In fact, the front-facing thing only had 2 buttons on it. Though, I wouldn't put it past Nintendo to put out a controller with only 2 buttons. And if they did, man, oh man, there would be blood in the streets, I think. That's beside the point. So it's got these scroll wheels in place. I think that you could really add a lot of really interesting gameplay mechanics. And the controller looked like a traditional style controller. Although I can't remember if it had a screen in the middle. Because then there was another patent that was leaked from Nintendo that had what looked like touch sensitive sides to the controller. So instead of using a scroll wheel, you could touch the side of the controller to do something to it. No clicky buttons there, but I would lend a little less. I find that a lot less interesting, because I like buttons to have tactile feedback. The touchpads on the Steam controller aside, I really like buttons to have a tactile feedback. That's why I don't really play many games on my iPad or on my iPhone. It's not because they're not good games. It's just because I would rather not have my hands covering up the screen, and I would like to be able to feel the controller or feel my interaction with the controller. And whenever I play a game on a touch screen or anything else like that, if I can't feel it, or if my hands are covering up the screen, then it becomes kind of a pain. So I really hope that Nintendo moves away from the touch screen, or I don't know. I really hope that they do. But that was really an aside. I've gone off on a tangent. I've gone down a rabbit hole. We get back to the matter in hand, and that is I can't talk. We'll get back to the matter at hand. That is the Steam controller on the wish list yet again. I want to know, is it on your wish list? Have you ordered one? Are you excited about it? Do you think it's going to be awesome, or do you think it's going to flop? Let me know.